Being bold has been the secret.
A lot of us kind of struggle, especially with cold calling
Yeah.
and cold outreach. Tell me about that process for you and why you're so comfortable doing it.
Well, first thing, it wasn't that easy at the start. I guess when it worked the first time, I thought, okay, let's keep trying this.
Melanie Hapisu-Wambugu is the founder of Digipath Africa, a digital marketing agency in Kenya. She moves companies from confusion to clarity by building digital strategies that prioritize revenue and ROI over just like. She's also a trainer empowering people to stop being intimidated by digital marketing and start using it as an asset for their individual brands and businesses.
I think it was 4 years or 5 years ago, I was really bullied on X.
Really?
One person commented and said, and this is the girl who works with influencers and doesn't pay them. Hey, who's that? Who is that? Me? Hey, by the time I came back after an hour, people even had evidence. Hey. Hey, that was the biggest mistake of my life.
Before we dive into the episode, if you enjoy these conversations, like and subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss an episode. It's the simplest way to support the platform and helps me continue to amplify the voices of African women entrepreneurs. Thank you for being here, Melanie.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I really appreciate you coming. We've been planning this for a couple of weeks now.
Yep.
And we're finally here. In that planning process, I realized you're kind of type A, like me.
I am.
Twins. But I love working with type A's, honestly. I'm not like the controlling of others type A. I'm more of like, I like to be organized and prepared.
Yes.
Is that?
That's me too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes to organization, please. To-do list, calendar. Tell me about it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. When I first spoke to you, you were telling me about your business and I asked you a question about how you reach out to clients and how you get clients. And you also casually just told me, oh, I just do cold outreaches. And, I was actually asking because I realized how you've landed some really, really big clients.
Yep.
And I was asking that question because I was like, how is she landing these clients? Does she have these connections? How is she doing it? And you said, yeah, no, I'm just doing a lot of cold calling, a lot of outreach, a lot of networking, and that's how I do it. But you said it so casually. And I feel like a lot of us kind of struggle, especially with cold calling and cold outreach. Tell me about that process for you in reaching out to people and why you're so comfortable doing it.
Okay. Wow. First thing, it wasn't that easy at the start. And I guess when it worked the first time, I thought, okay, let's keep trying this. So how I do it, mostly calls or LinkedIn, DMs, or emails to companies as well. Sometimes when I'm not able to reach a decision maker I want, I'll just call the company and say, it's Melanie, the CEO of Digipath Africa. Please tell your CEO I'd like to talk to them.
The CEO. No,
Yes.
I think that's a really good hack, actually, because then it gives you, it places you in the right position.
Exactly.
And you become the boss's peer.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think they'd be more open to speaking to you as a CEO.
Completely. And most of the time, the person on the phone is so confused. They're like, was he expecting you? Was he?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And I mean, they wouldn't doubt it because you just said you're the CEO of another company.
Yeah.
So, I mean, quickly the CEO comes, as confused as they are, gets the phone and listens in.
So this must be a very important call, I'm sure, in their mind, right?
Exactly. And you see, I start lightly. Hi, how you doing? So good to hear from you. And they're like, okay, maybe I know this person. Then by the time I start talking, they realize, oh no. But they're like, she got into the door.
Yeah.
Let's give her
You're
some
already
time.
here.
Exactly.
You're already here.
So it's worked quite well. Being bold has been the secret.
That's quite the hack, though. honestly.
Yeah.
But I think you nailed it in saying being bold,
Yep.
right? And I think that's where people struggle, is that boldness and that audacity.
Yeah.
And you obviously have it.
Yes.
Where did you get it?
My mom. My mom is so bold.
Yeah.
Growing up, I used to look at her like, hey, mom, tone down. Like tone down. Then as I grew up, I realized, gosh, that's what opened all those doors for her.
Yeah.
And I decided to copy.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Yeah.
Here I am.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I love that. I love that for you. I want to get into what you do. You describe your work as moving people from confusion to clarity. Where did you come up with that framing for your work?
Wow. So a lot of it started when I was transitioning from employment to business. And I was so quick to want to do the implementation in terms of let's manage your page, let's do the audits for you. But then I met a couple of clients who were not interested in us doing it, but they wanted to learn how to do it as well. And so sitting down, I kept asking myself, how can I do that? I can train, but what about the clients who are not training? What happens to them? So then the monthly reporting sessions where we'd meet and go through the reports became a learning opportunity. And many of them would actually say that phrase, oh, you've moved us from confusion to clarity. And I just collected it from there and ran with it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So now you train, and that's a lot of what you do, is training others to be able to manage their digital presence.
Yeah.
But you started off managing these pages, these social media pages yourself.
Yes.
Tell me about that transition, why you decided to make that transition from, because we live in 2026 when everyone is a social media manager or a content creator or is in that space to that capacity.
Yeah.
But you have managed to kind of identify a niche and shifted your work into more of strategy and training.
Yes.
So I want to hear about that transition from the social media management to more of a strategy role.
Nice. I mean, it was an interesting transition because one, just like you've said, everyone nowadays can do it. I meet so many people and they're like, I'm a social media manager. I post for companies.
And that looks different for everyone, by the way.
It does.
It's like, I don't even know what it means anymore, but yeah.
It does. And when I personally started, I actually just used to tell people, I'll post for you. So, I mean, I was a poster, for lack of a better way to say it. But as I grew in the space, then I learned quite a bit. And one of the things that was very important for me, I attended a masterclass initially when I started my career that really now opened my eyes for me to now see it's not just about posting, but there's more than that. So after practicing a lot of it, both from a freelance consultant perspective as well, then I got to realize, okay, what do most people come to me for? Is it the posting? Is it the content? Is it the strategy? Is it the audits? And it also got to the level where I had to do some research and ask existing clients. And the common trend I got is, if I was to get rid of all the services that you offer for me, the only one I would leave is paid advertising and strategy. So I got 2 services just from auditing from existing clients. But after all that, then I started talking to now strangers, and their biggest worry was, I don't know if my digital is working or not. How can you help me? Then came audits. So then I was able to narrow down and say, okay, let's try this. Let's offer audit, strategy, and paid ads as services and see how that goes. At an individual level, it was easy to do. But then when now I transitioned to opening my digital marketing agency, it became difficult because then by default, people assume a digital marketing agency should do everything. So when you come and tell them, no, we're just going to do the paid ads and the strategy, they're like, so who's going to post? Who's going to actually do the posting? So there's a lot of, let me say, difficulty in the beginning, just helping people to understand that. And yet some of these companies that we were approaching had maybe an agency for PR, an agency for their offline marketing, but they were not, open to the idea of let's have a digital agency that does some of it, and then we have another one that now does the implementation and all that. So that was quite difficult at the beginning, but educating people around the journey made them understand. So for most people, even when they now evaluate And that's the question I'd ask people. If you had to get rid of all services and you could only choose one, what would that be? And even the new organization started saying paid ads or strategy.
Okay.
And that's how we got here.
That's really interesting. Does that mean then your client base is mainly the larger companies?
So I would say the larger businesses right now. But of course, in year one, it was a mix of both. So the
Right.
small ones and the larger ones. And initially, I think all through year one and maybe a little bit of year two, we were offering everything. And that's how we were able to survey existing clients to actually see what's working for them. So at this point, we've grown to an extent where it's the larger organizations and the smaller ones either take up training or I'm happy to refer, because with all these trainings, I'm training so many young people who are interested in that. So by the time I'm referring someone to a business, is it someone who has either walked through my hands in terms of training or I've seen some of their work and they have a really good portfolio, then I refer them. So I never allow a client to walk out of my door without some form of assistance.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I want to go back and talk about how you reach out to these larger companies.
Yeah.
I think I want like the step by step, just for anyone who's also trying to get their foot in the door
Yeah.
to some of these companies or a larger company that they would want to work with. Approaching them can kind of be intimidating for some.
Yes.
So I want to know break it down for me. You mentioned making a call.
Yeah.
I want you to describe how else you do outreach aside from the cold calling. You talked about networking, and I want the play by play of
Okay.
actually landing a larger client.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So, different ways, one of them being the phone calls. But of course, before the phone call, I have to identify the company. So, I've made it my problem in my company to be the one who looks for the leads. Once in a while, especially when business is low, I outsource someone to help me with sales. But for some reason, I convert more. So,
Why do you think that you're this person that converts?
I really wonder. But I guess it's the boldness, but also in addition to that, it's just maybe being a little bit more strategic about it. Because when I think step by step, one of the things I do, I come up with a dream list of companies we would love to work with. And I involve my team as well to come up with the dream list. So any brands you guys would love to work with, please drop them here. And we come up with this list and now start doing research on the company. What gaps are we seeing digital marketing wise? Because especially if we're talking about the big brands, most of them already have an agency. Let's not lie.
Yeah.
And so you find that one, we go looking for gaps so that in case they tell us they have an agency, that's okay. Can we work with the agency to improve that, or do we get the client? Unfortunately, that happens sometimes. So after now researching on the company and seeing what gaps they have, we come up with a one-pager, just a quick write-up, mostly bullet points of what we're offering to do for the client. So almost like what's working, what's not, what can we do about it? And we start reaching out to the client. So first reach out is actually usually LinkedIn. So we look for a decision maker, a marketing manager, a CEO, someone who's going to make a decision, and we DM them on LinkedIn. Unfortunately, most don't open their LinkedIns. Shame on you guys. But yeah, most don't open their LinkedIns. And so most of the time the messages go unresponded. So the next step after that is to email the organization.
And how long do you wait before you even email?
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Okay.
So exactly 2 weeks. And then after that, we reach out to the organization via email.
Okay.
So when you go to every company's website, they probably have an email. And so we reach out via that email. Nowadays, I think as at 2024, 5, 6, people check those emails.
Yeah.
So people had an info at email that they'd never check.
Yeah.
But nowadays, people check. So most times you'll find someone telling you, thank you, whenever you have an opportunity, we're going to reach out,
Yeah.
And in that email, we actually ask to be introduced to the marketing manager. So when they don't introduce us to the marketing manager, we call. Why are you telling me thank you when the opportunity arises? Surely, I've told you have problems. You should be excited to be solving them.
Yeah.
So for the few who then don't do an intro or tell us, we forwarded the proposal to the marketing manager, even if maybe sometimes some of them lied that they forwarded, we then call. So when we call the organization, remember you're going to get maybe the secretary, the person who has the phone.
Yeah.
And so we call, introduce myself. I'm the CEO of Digipath Africa. And I'm personally the one who makes the call so that, you drop CEO and someone is like, whoa, important call.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'd like to talk to your CEO. So most times, especially when the other CEO is not busy or in a meeting, that has, landed us an opportunity to open the door. So maybe during the call, I'll just be like, we were going through your social media pages or your website. We've identified some issues. And we'd love to discuss it with you over a virtual meeting. For some reason, immediately you say virtual, they're just like, what do I have to lose? What do I have to lose?
Yeah.
Or sometimes we say we've prepared a one-pager that we can send to you and you can have a look and we can have a discussion after that.
Yeah.
And they're like, shoot us an email or shoot me an email. The secretary will give you that. And the rest is history.
Yeah.
So different approaches have been that. Sometimes also networking.
Yeah.
So when I was staying in Nairobi, I used to attend lots of physical events. But now I stay in Murang'a, I attend lots of virtual events. In fact, for some of them, they have an opportunity for people to network where you're put in breakout rooms and, you sort of discuss and talk. I attend a lot of those to date, even in Murang'a, especially when there's like a business forum kind of thing. And I know some people be like, what would be in Murang'a business-wise?
Yeah.
You'll be shocked. So I attend those I can, and that becomes an opportunity to network. And most of the time during the networking process, whether it's one-on-one or group, because sometimes you go for some events and people are told, introduce yourselves. I'll start marking people I'm going to reach out to later. So that if it's an in-person event, after the event, I just walk up to you, have a little chat, say what I have in mind. Because you see, if you identify people, you can quickly look them up online.
Yeah.
I'll go on Google, I'll go on social media, look at you. So that's what the steps have been like, and it's worked.
Yeah. I mean, you said you require it requires a lot of boldness, but then you say that you also close these should I say deals?
Yes.
Close these deals more than maybe your team members. There's obviously some strategy in it. Why do you think you close more than they do? I mean, you can teach them the strategy.
Yes.
I guess you can't teach them the boldness.
You can teach them the boldness, but now I'm in the process of teaching the strategy.
Yeah.
So my business is 5 years old.
Okay.
I never documented processes
Okay.
ever. So it was just like, we do this. So I even like that you challenged me to talk about it step by step, because then we now have those written step by step.
Yeah.
So initially that was the issue, that the process was not fully understood by everyone. But in addition to that, when I am pushing for a deal to be closed, I'm in a hurry, for lack of a better way to say it.
I get it.
So the faster we can get to closure, the better. So I don't give clients an opportunity to think. It's just like, let's meet, let's discuss the one pager, and let's start. We can start as soon as you're ready. And the client is like, oh, it can be that easy. So most of the time when you show them how easy it can get, they're just like, let's do it, let's try it. Then in addition to that, something I realized my team was not doing, I tell the client, let's do the first 3 months.
And see how that goes.
So initially we used to have 1 month clients. Wow, it taught me lots of lessons.
It ended at 1 month.
Yes, because sometimes after 1 month, they're like, we achieved the results we wanted, especially small business owners. So maybe you overwhelm them with sales, or you overwhelm them with inquiries that they'll follow up on, and they don't renew the contract. Then month 2, you have no clients.
Yeah.
So nowadays we're like, let's do 3 months. Let's see how that goes. And they're like, okay, that doesn't look like too much to ask for. So that's how.
And do they come on after the 3 months?
Yes.
You can retain them?
Yes. So we have been retaining. I'm actually really proud of us. I think the past 2 years out of the 5 we've existed, we actually move past the 3 months. And we renew. We have clients who've been with us even 4 years, even 5 years. That has been good to see.
I want to go back to working with the agencies. You said that sometimes you have to work with the agent in order to work with the client, or that is your gateway to working with the client. Do conflicts arise? Do conflicts arise when you're doing that? How does it work? I don't know how it works. So how does it work when you're working with an agency? You're an agency yourself.
Yes.
I'd imagine other agencies would also offer some of the services that you offer. So how does that work? How does that balance when you're in a situation when you're working with an agency?
Okay, so 2 ways. First way, some agencies don't offer all services just like us. So you find that there's an opportunity for us to plug in. So actually when we're doing cold calls, part of the cold calls we do are to agencies to tell them, if you don't offer these services, we can come in,
help
as
you with that.
as your partner. So that's one way. But the second way is where you reach out to a client and they tell you already have an agency. This is their contact. Please reach out to them and see how you can collaborate. Especially if it's services they are offering the client, because the client is like, why should I double pay?
That's my thinking.
Yes.
That's my thinking.
So when you reach out to the agency and tell them what you have in store, some will of course steal the ideas. We had to learn the hard way. So nowadays we give top line ideas, very general, to just sort of tease you to know what we can do for you. So sometimes when you reach out to the agencies, they'll tell you, okay, just maybe do a quick audit for us. And initially we used to do it for free, but nowadays we're like, yeah, that's a service we charge for. So I had to learn a lot of that. But other than the audit direction, some come in and just clearly say, yeah, we've actually been struggling in that area. How can you support us? So we have options. Is it training? Is it doing it for them? Is it maybe supporting the team while they do it? So you have people who are like, okay, our team is trained, but we just need you to support, guide, approve. Yeah. So we come in those different ways.
You spoke of a client that accounted for 60% of your revenue.
Yeah.
And I want to know what that experience was and how you got through that.
Lessons. Let's just call them business lessons. But at some point, we had one client, like you've said, who accounted for a lot of our revenue. And we were doing both training and execution for them.
Yeah.
So they had branches of their brand in different cities in Kenya. And so we would actually go around training in person. Then the support on a normal day-to-day would happen virtually. Keyword there is in person. So, of course, we were burning some money as well if we had not budgeted well. But one of the big things that was interesting about working with that client is every single day I kept asking myself, what happens
if this client
just wakes up and goes? And not because you've done anything wrong, but different things can happen. I started my business during COVID. Many people were closing their businesses during COVID. But I learned a great lesson at some point in these 5 years of business because all of a sudden people were cutting budgets. So you'd find a client comes and tells you, no, we need to renegotiate. We don't need some services. We're going to do them internally. And sometimes it's not even cutting budgets because something has gone wrong, but something good has happened. They now want a full-time internal resource because the company is growing. I mean, I clap for my clients, but inside, I feel like crying, And so for like that client specifically, that was a worry every single day. And there were one client for like a year.
Were they also, I mean, you said they accounted for 60% of your revenue, but was it 60% of your time as well?
Yes, 60% of the time as well. So we were actually busy 60% of the time.
Yeah.
The only issue came in with the what ifs, and I never had the what ifs until I attended an incubation program for businesses. Then I opened my eyes and I was like, okay, but then what if this client goes?
Yeah.
And it was hell. I wish I never found out, but maybe it's also good I found out because now I learned to balance.
Yeah.
But that was crazy because then there was always that risk. And then now, you go looking for deals to close. You're in a hurry. They are not closing.
You're anxious. You're anxious now. You're trying to get the business for it to make sense.
Guys are like, let's talk next year. Let's talk towards the end of the year. And you're just like, let's talk now, please. I don't have time. Sina time, And it was so interesting because at that point, then I learned a lot of the lessons to do with the cold calling.
Yeah.
Because then I realized just because you're in an emergency to sell your product or service doesn't mean your customer is an emergency.
Yeah.
And so with that client, one of the things that became very interesting to see is fine, we've signed maybe a 1-year, 2-year contract. For those who are probably going to wonder, okay, why were you worried they're going to leave? But contracts have clauses,
yes,
and anything can happen in between.
It's true.
Yeah, so that was quite rough. And I got to learn lots of lessons around, why it's important to balance, not just in case the client goes completely, but even if they cut their budgets, are you actually ready for that?
Anything can happen.
Yes,
Actually.
Or are you going to take a hit?
So
that was tough, but lots of good lessons to learn from
so
it.
you figured out how to balance.
Yes.
And are they still your client?
Yes, still my client to date.
Okay. Not 60% though.
Not 60%.
Okay. I want to circle back as well. And you talked about giving free advice.
Yep.
And I want to know how you turned that into business for yourself. I mean, I think for women especially,
Yes.
um, I think we have issues around charging people for our
Mm-hmm.
services,
Yeah.
just generally speaking, charging what we're worth, charging for our service
Yep.
at all. And you were giving free advice until you realized, okay, this is not going to work. I need to start charging clients. How did you make that transition? Just being, I don't know, if you're anything like me and the women that I've, spoken to
Yeah.
and dealt with, it's hard. It's
It
you
is.
feel like you're doing people a favor and that's just your nature. And it's
Yes.
like, of course I'll give you free advice.
Yep.
So how did you turn that? How did you make that shift for yourself?
Wow, that shift wasn't easy. Let's
Yeah.
just start there. And as you said, being a woman, I felt like, am I doing them wrong?
Yeah, like you really feel like
Gosh, it was so,
you
so
feel
tough.
guilty, right? Yeah, you
Exactly.
feel guilty.
And especially because you get really good feedback after giving the free advice.
Yeah.
And you're like, maybe I should do more of this.
Yeah.
So how I transitioned to like stop giving the free advice, I do a lot of free webinars. And that became my limit.
Okay.
So if you want to learn, attend the free
Come to
webinar
the-
once
yeah.
a month.
Yeah.
I do it once a month. Each month was a different topic. So that was the first stage. Let's call it that. So when you reach out to me with regards to something, I'd be like, but I have a webinar that's going to be addressing that
All
this month. Please attend. And someone would be like, okay, I won't be available. And I take that opportunity to say, oh, if you won't be available, I'm happy to give you a consultation call at this fee. Hey, the first time was not you say, then you're like, let's wait.
Yeah.
Let's wait and see. Let's wait and see. Coincidentally, the first time, that person was like, yeah, let's do it. And I was like, I've been sitting on money all this time. What's wrong with me? Unfortunately, the second person who asked, they said no. The second person I told, they were like,
Yeah.
no, I just wanted some free advice. You can help me. You're my friend. I got a lot of that. So I got a taste of both, of someone just being like, yeah, let's do it. And someone else, sort of refusing. But just because I got one yes, that now became my challenge.
Yeah.
So rather than saying, oh, for the guys who say no, I just won't serve them, I then broke down packages. So if you want like a 1 hour consultation, this is the price. If you want like a 30-minute, if you want like a 15-minute, and if you just want, I have one question, there was a rate for everything.
Really?
Yes. And that's how it started.
And so does that work?
It does. It worked for me, by the way, because people are like, okay, maybe I can't afford the full 1 hour session, and I can just disclose my full hour session. I was charging 5,000. Then, of course, after time, I realized, okay, maybe it was too much for people then. Now, of course, you pay that money, But at that time, it was like 5,000. What do you mean? So I'd break down. If it's 30 minutes, we're doing 2,500. If it's like 15 minutes, break it down. And it worked.
Really?
Yes.
I'm actually really keen and interested to know if people are paying for 15-minute consultation.
People are. Actually, that's how I started using Calendly for my online bookings. And initially, I just used to have like a 1 meeting link because then I was on the free plan. Then I discovered I could have many on the paid plan. So I got like the 30-minute one, the 15-minute one, and people would pay because at the end of the day, the value they get in the 15 minutes. But now the problem became, if you're a stranger,
how do you know? How do you know the value?
Thanks, you'll never know. That's where the webinars came in.
Okay.
So anyone who'd be hesitant to like book the session, at some point it even became automatic. So I'd be like, I have a consultation call. These are the prices. You can book via this link. Because remember, now I'm on the paid plan, so I just share one link and they book whatever they want. But then I'd be like, if you're not ready to, have a paid consultation call, I also have a free webinar this month. This is the topic. And guys would now first come for the webinar and then do the payment. And after some point, I realized I'd record the webinars, and now I sort of uploaded them on my YouTube channel as raw as they were. I just put them there so that if you can't attend the webinar, I'm like, there's also lots of good knowledge on my YouTube channel. Feel free. Sometimes you'd find people who are like, oh, wow, I got all the answers I needed.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, good for them. But then you'd find others who are like, I want more, so I'm going to pay.
Yeah.
And that's how I started.
I love that. I love that. That's such a good it's good instruction for
Yep.
me.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
good instruction for me, and I think a lot of people would benefit from the idea of charging
Yeah.
per consultation and having those options. for
Very
all your
true. And
clients.
when you think about it, you could implement the same thing even for speaking. I did lots of speaking engagements. Oh, COVID time for free. For free. So many. Because, I mean, they'd reach out and you're like, okay, I hope they're going to give me something. Because you don't even know if they're going to give you something.
hope
You hope.
they're gonna give you
The woman
something.
in me. I'd hope so strongly. And then you realize, surprise, they give you nothing.
Yeah.
And now I became very intentional. Just like the consultation call, I now started
High
having a
rate.
rate for speaking.
Yeah.
You know, and as time went by, then you'd find some organizations that come with a budget because they already know you charge. So they're like, oh, this is our budget.
Yeah.
And of course, if they asked you for your budget, you'd have undercharged. Again, women.
No, I know someone who like undercharged themselves until, knowing the budget and,
You get so happy after you know the budget and you're like, what? So those are lessons for me.
Yeah.
Actually, when someone gives me a budget, I'm just like, yeah, that's my new rate.
Yeah.
That's my new
That's
rate
my new
going
rate.
forward.
Yeah, because that's the money that's on the table.
Exactly.
And that's what people are willing to pay for your time and your expertise.
Mm-hmm.
Love that. What advice would you give someone who's trying to make that transition from free advice to charging for their advice?
I would say just start. Just say I charge. This is something I charge for.
Yeah.
Then, go back and think about how much you actually charge.
Yeah.
Because once you've said it, you have to get back with a figure, And so sometimes it's just that starting.
What would you tell your friend? How do you tell your friends that I charge for that?
Exactly that. Coincidentally, the people I had to first tell were my friends. It was super hard, especially when they've gotten used to you giving free advice, But for me, I'd be like, as at this year, or as at this month, this quarter, look for a perfect time to do it, We actually started charging for this as at this month. And they're like, oh, how much? Then you now go back and start thinking, by the how much? Yeah. So imagine just do it.
Did you get good, what was the response for your friends, your close friends?
A lot of it was, but I'm your friend.
Yeah.
Why would you charge?
Yeah.
And then a few of those would be like, can I negotiate? Can I, get this session for free for now? I'd get a lot of that. And you actually have to fight it.
Yeah.
And that's when I learned the importance of, it actually taught me, how like our moms, for example, they negotiate a lot.
Yeah.
They negotiate.
They do.
And that is a big lesson I learned there, that there's always room to negotiate.
Yeah.
So if this person really wanted that paid call, but they cannot afford that amount, or they want something cheaper, negotiate for yourself. Like I said, I have a 30-minute call, have a 15-minute call, and you still get your value. Because most of the time when they're reaching out to you, they have no idea how long it's going to take for you to give them that advice.
Yeah, I think the friend thing though is it's a difficult one, but at the same time, your real friends are always gonna pay. Like I'm the type of friend who's not gonna ask for a discount.
Yep.
Your real friends are gonna support you and pay
very true.
your fee.
Very true. And if they don't get it at that time, by then it's okay.
Yeah.
They'll get annoyed or they'll catch feelings for some time. Later, when they actually see it's something that people actually pay for, or later when they now start getting involved. I remember for my friends when they started attending my webinars.
Yeah.
The people tell you, oh, your friend actually has a real job. Now they got to see me
you're
in my
actually a
real
professional.
job.
Yeah.
And that's when they understood. They're like, oh, okay, there's actually value in it. So sometimes you just need to show them that part of it.
Yeah.
Because when they're getting the advice, they're just like, yeah, it's advice. It's advice, but they're not really seeing the expert side of you.
Yeah. Would you be open to bartering? Because I think your friends are also the perfect people to barter with if money talks is a difficult thing.
Very true. I do a lot of that, and I did it at that time as well.
Yeah.
So actually to date, sometimes you'll find even maybe like a client will reach out and propose a sort of barter trade, but they will listen.
Yeah.
We listen, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about your training. A little bit about your training.
Yeah.
You train a lot of corporates, a lot of small businesses, and you're also very young.
Yep.
And the impression that I would get from someone who was training me and I felt that they were young.
Yeah.
I would probably have a little bit of a bias. Do you get that response from people that you train? Because if you're working with corporates, you're working with a lot of people from different age groups and all of that.
Yeah,
So do you ever feel like people underestimate your expertise and your qualifications?
they do. It actually happens a lot. And I mean, looking back, it happened even while I was employed, like even prior to the business. But I think a lot of it happened in business. And high heels have been a savior,
High heels?
especially for in-person engagements, because then someone is like, "Oh, you look like you're older,
looking
like
the
you
part.
look professional."
The point is looking the part
Exactly
makes the difference.
it makes the difference. So especially for in-person meetings or engagements, I make sure I look the part.
Yeah.
For online, it's very hard for them to really tell. They can still tell you're young, but it's sometimes really hard. And how I can say I've gotten through it is you really have to show results. What have you done? And sometimes people are like, oh, your introductions don't matter. They do, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
They do. Slap that. I have a master's in.
Yeah.
I'm the CEO of. Slap all those titles, especially to the guys who are older, because sometimes for some people, that's what matters. For someone else, it's the results that will matter. I have people who just are like, okay, maybe she was the best one because, this Gen Z's, I'm a millennial, but this Gen Z's, they are good with these social media things.
Yeah.
So you have some people who say that, but to convince the others, know your audience so well that you're able to say what they want to hear. But of course, there's those ones who just will not have it.
Yeah.
Let them see you in your element.
Yeah.
And they'll get to it. So most times after the training, someone is like, wow, I didn't expect that from my young person. But, and you're like, okay, I did what was required.
Does that sometimes give you a little bit of imposter syndrome as well?
It does.
Yeah.
It does. In fact, I think it does all the time.
Yeah.
Because one, I'm only human. Two, I'm just a lady with hormones. So sometimes there are those days where you're just like, gosh, you didn't have to say that today, But it actually does. And how I honestly get through it is I just breathe in. I think one of the things most of us have in common, especially when you're behind the camera, you get a bit nervous. So, I have a lot of those moments before trainings, before meeting any corporate, and it works magic. And just give it your best. As long as you've given your best, that's all that matters.
Yeah. Has that underestimation ever worked in your favor?
Yeah, it has a lot of times actually, because you find those people who are like, let's just give her a chance. Let's see. And then you see, even with my team, everybody else is young as well.
Yeah.
So when you look at it, they're just like, okay, let's give them a chance. Let's support the youth.
Yeah.
Let's support the youth, and you're paying them. Let's support. So it has worked in my favor a couple of times, because then in the spirit of you supporting the youth, you kind of get shocked and you're like, wow, are the rest like this as well?
Okay, let's talk about your team and managing your team.
Yeah.
You have a small team.
Yes.
How many people do you have on your team?
So 3.
3 people.
1 full-time
and
1 on freelance.
Okay.
Yes.
And prior to taking on this venture, did you ever find that you had to manage people? Were you in a management role, or is this your first time managing a team, leading a team?
Okay, so I was in a, let me call it, partial management role. You know those roles you get and you're told there's no team, you're the team. Then after a few months, you're given like 1 team member, but you're like, you're not the boss, but work with this person. So indirectly, yes, I had that prior. So lots of experience from that. I honestly thank God for that organization. Despite the pushing, it's helping me to date.
Yeah,
it is.
And so what kind of leader do you think that you are right now?
Wow. I would say maybe not more like a leader, but more like a team member. I still struggle to sit in that CEO role to date. In as much as I'm telling you, slap that CEO. I do it and then I digest.
Really?
For some reason. Yes. It feels big. It feels so.
But you are big.
I am. And I keep reminding myself that. In fact, I laugh because the past 5 years, we've done such a great job at marketing my business, but also myself as an individual brand, that sometimes I go to events and people are like, you're the Melanie Hapisu. And I'm like, yeah, how did you know? You know? So I'm still getting comfortable in it.
Yeah.
So a lot of the times when I think of myself as a leader, I think of myself more like being a part of the team. I have instances where I don't have a problem with, yeah, please, we need to be aligned. This is wrong. You know,
Yeah.
I can get into that. But most times it feels more comfortable for me to kind of collaborate with the team. And I guess it's imposter syndrome. I guess it's just imposter syndrome, especially with the brands we've gotten to work with. Sometimes I sit back and I'm like, how? I'm like, how? So I'm getting used to it, but I can assure you, we've just, we're getting into year 6. So year 5 and now year 6, I've seen myself getting more confident in that leadership role. I've actually seen myself being a leader to my team. Initially, that wasn't there. So I'd not even I remember I took a program where I learned I needed to do individual check-ins. So other than how you doing, but like how you doing in the role?
Yeah.
Is everything okay? Is there
Where do you want
anything?
to be?
Yeah, I never did that. I didn't know how to do it. So I usually tell people the incubation program also really helped me because I was a marketer. I didn't know how to run a business. I didn't know how to be a leader. Surely these are not things I had been taught. So that really made a big impact to making me the leader I'm becoming now.
And has your nature, I mean, being collaborative is always a good thing.
Yeah.
Placing yourself as a member of the team and
Yes.
not so much a CEO, has that worked against you in terms of people kind of taking you seriously?
Yep.
People on your team, like,
It
do they
has.
mess around? Because
It has worked against me,
Yeah.
not with my current team, but prior. So
Yeah.
I have had instances. This is the second full-time person I've hired. So I have had instances where I've worked with, especially lots of freelancers before, and that being part of the team really, let me say, removed the thin line that was there. And so a lot of them deadlines became optional. Like, oh yeah, sorry, I wouldn't make it. And they're like, what do you mean? On deadline day? Sorry, I won't make it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it has worked against me. But right now, I think I've gotten a balance where I'm very intentional, especially being a super planner. Then that's something I try to pass down to the team. So that even if we're collaborating, even if you feel like, oh, she's my bestie, we have to remember that there are boundaries as well, there are deadlines as well, and we have to respect that. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about working on the internet.
Yep.
You alluded to how hard it is working on the internet.
Yeah.
I think I'm experiencing this right now as well. First of all, I don't know how influencers and content creators, I don't know how they do it. I am now getting a taste
Yep.
of
What it's like.
what it's like. And it's brutal.
Yep.
It can be so brutal, especially the men.
Yep.
Like, surprisingly,
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand what the beef is.
Yep.
But the men can be brutal. There's so many trolls online.
Yep.
And a lot of your work is online.
Yeah.
And you as an individual and the companies that you work with, you're managing their online presence.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with that?
I wish there was a formula. Unfortunately, there's no. But one of the things I'm super happy about is when we stopped offering social media management. That was the first step for us. One of the things that happens when you're a social media manager, you're online all the time. So you're managing the client's page. You probably want some time to be on your social media. So you're going to be online as well. And when you're on the client's page, you're trying to look at what's trending, what are people saying, how's my client doing, what are their customers saying. You have no option. That's your job.
Yeah.
So if you decide to take a break, you're taking a break from your personal social media, not the client. So that was the first step. But other than that, even with the clients or even with your personal social media, sometimes they overlap. I remember, I think it was 4 years or 5 years ago, I was really bullied on X.
Really? As yourself or
As myself,
as the company?
and at some point they brought the company in. So I was at an event, and I'm those cooperative audiences during events. Take your phone, take a picture with your neighbor, post it,
Yeah,
put
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
hashtag. And I did that. And sadly, the person I took a picture with was on X's list of bullies, of people to be bullied. So first it started with people coming for him. So guys were like, oh, this is the guy who does this and this. And before I knew it, one person
You were in
commented and
there.
said, and this is the girl who works with influencers and doesn't pay them. Hey, who's that? Who is that? Me? So by that, at first I ignored. I was just like, this person is confused. I actually didn't like put it into so much thought. So I ignored. Hey, by the time I came back after an hour, people even had evidence of me not paying influencers.
Receipt?
And the receipts were an email with my name at the bottom, regards, Melanie Hapisu. And it was an email that I had sent on behalf of a client for a campaign. I'm not going to mention names, but we were doing a campaign and we needed to reach out for influencers, and we were sending PR packages. And as we were informing the influencers we're going to send a PR package, we put in a request of, if you can, please create 1 or 2 posts for us. Hey, hey. That was the biggest mistake of my life. Remember, I've not even said you're going to be working for free. We're going to pay you. We're going to, but by default, most times when you get a PR package, no one is paying you. So you can post if you want, post if you don't want. Next thing, those are the emails going out. And remember, now when I came back after the hour, one of the things I commented on that person's post, and I was like, hey, mistaken identity.
With Melanie Hapisu signing off.
God. The screenshot said, come. In fact, the first one asked, is this not you? God. And I was like, what? Okay, so now you have to start thinking, how do I approach this? So I have lots of friends in PR, and I reached out to one of them. I was like, please, I need your help. I don't know what to do. I denied, and boom, there's receipts with my name and my picture. What can I do? And she's like, so there are different ways you can handle it, what. So I put out a statement, and, I said, yeah, we had done this on behalf of a client, and the posting was optional, as usual when it happens with PR packages, and I left it at that.
And you're not responsible for paying people.
Thank
you're
you.
Not the one who.
Hey, before I knew it, people said, yeah, she's the owner of this influencer company. Again, I'm not mentioning names. She's the owner of this influencer company. It's her. So they start tagging the influencer company. Please note, it's not my company, by the way. So I'm just like, okay, let them have fun, because that's not me. Then someone comes, no, her company is actually Digipath. Now Digipath is brought into the mix. What kind of professionals work at that company? How can they send such an email to an influencer? I'm telling you, it was so bad. I think it went on for about like 6 hours. At some point on X, I saw my name trending, and I was just like, that's it. My career is over, and it's done.
6 hours. Tomorrow they'll have something else to
Thanks.
think about.
I should have known that. When you're in the moment, you feel like, swallow me now. Just swallow me.
Of course.
And so long story short, and you're reaching out to the client, you're like, say something. You're spoiling my name. Say something. This is because of you.
So even your clients reached out to you and said that you need to say
No,
something about
I reached out to them.
okay.
Yeah, because I'm like, please say something. Because now people say tagging the brand. Remember, the brand is on the email.
Yeah.
They said nothing. And I was just left there alone.
So have you now developed thick skin? You're in the space now.
Yep.
And you know what to expect now.
Yep. I have developed thick skin.
Yeah.
I have also ensured that myself or anyone in the team does not send emails with their name. So regards from the ... team. Yeah. Yes. So no names, no nothing, because that was not a great experience. Unfortunately, on that day, my number was leaked. So I got phone calls as well.
No.
So you see, when your name is there, a lot of things can go wrong. So I got so many phone calls. And I remember that day I was at an event. So your head is not even there. You're one of the speakers. You speak just to finish, because it's just like, if you guys know what's happening online, So yeah, that was scary. So thick skin, measures like, not using names. In addition to measures like those, having a crisis plan because remember, I didn't have one. Imagine if my friends in PR didn't pick. So I didn't know how to handle crisis. That was my first ever experience of crisis. But in addition to that, questioning clients more when such things happen. So when that email was sent to me to send it out to the influencers, I actually raised that concern. And I was like, this email is so vague. It's not clear if you're paying, if you're not paying. Can it be a bit more clear?
Yeah.
And the client was just like, they know
Yeah.
PR packages, people are not paying. So just send it out. So maybe if I stood my ground, if maybe I gave the client a suggestion of how to edit the email, maybe they'd have accepted.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot of that.
Yeah.
in the
Those are
process.
many lessons.
There are so many. And of course, it caused a lot of trauma. I
Yeah.
didn't use X for like a year. I actually had it on my phone. I turned off notifications and I didn't use it. I was so scared. Even when I came back, I didn't have confidence to even like respond to anything. I think the confidence came like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Now I'm back.
Oh, I'm sorry. Netizens
Thank you.
are
A sport. And they are bullying you. And in your DMs, they're asking for work. So I'm an influencer. And on their feed, they were, Melanie, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
And you're just like, why were you bullying me?
No, the internet is wild.
It
The
is.
internet is wild.
It
You definitely
is.
have to have thick skin. And I think I was speaking to someone who's in the space and she just either turns her comments off or she just doesn't look at that stuff. And obviously you can't do that.
Yep.
But I think there just has to be an outlook on how to deal with these things if they do happen, but then also not take them personally. It's obviously easier said than done.
In fact, that's the keyword.
Yeah.
Don't take it
It's
personally.
just, it has nothing to do with you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Actually, later, some of those people who are busy saying stuff on my feed, who are influencers,
Yeah.
I've ended up working with them in other campaigns going
I would
forward.
be a little bit bitter though.
I know.
I don't think that I'd be able to work with anyone who's done that to me online.
Because you see, the assumption for them was like, this chick was paid.
Yeah.
So the assumption is your agency has been paid. You're the one who doesn't want to pay people.
Yeah.
But then later when they discovered, because after now I put my statement and the client said nothing,
Yeah.
that said a lot.
Yeah.
That said a lot for everyone.
Yeah.
And it just took one person.
Yeah.
I remember one person just wrote and said, Ama, we are targeting the wrong person. What if it's the client's fault?
Yeah.
And now people started thinking in that
Yeah.
direction,
Yeah.
like, what if? Because people have seen me talk about it. I talk about it in different interviews, and I tell people, if you have a craft, fine, get paid for it. But if you're comfortable to do barter trade, if you're comfortable to work for free because you're trying to look for experience, that's on you. That's on you, but feel free to do it.
Yeah.
So I've said that so many times that now, for the people who now are seeing it, they were like, but that doesn't sound like her.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like something she would do. Yeah. But
Yeah.
it was too late.
Yeah. No, it's the internet is a crazy place.
Yeah.
And I think this is also why a lot of us don't want to be visible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, I think this is why I've struggled so many years to get to this point, is
Yeah.
because the internet can be really, really brutal.
Yep.
There's a lot of trolls and a lot of misunderstanding, and then feeling the need like you have to explain
Explain.
yourself, explain your story, and the real story is nothing at all what is being portrayed. And
Yes.
like, this is the reason why a lot of women and women are the target a lot of the time as
Yep.
well. I mean, you were taking a picture with someone and ended up in that whole thing. So
Sometimes you're like, maybe I shouldn't have taken the picture.
yeah.
That would never have happened.
Yeah. But I
Yeah.
guess you have the measures now in
Yes.
place to be able to deal with this kind of thing.
Exactly.
PR strategy, put out a statement, and then also just not take it seriously. Take
Exactly.
it personally, rather.
Yep.
Yeah.
And expect it.
And expect it. It's like it just comes with the territory. isn't
Very
it?
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Glad you dealt with that. I want to get into more practical advice
Okay.
stuff for free.
I'll charge you later. This is my gift to all of you.
I'm lucky to have you here, I think, because I'm now in a space that I'm not really, this is all new for me
Yeah.
as a creator.
Mm-hmm.
All very new.
Yeah.
So most of these are probably going to be for me. If you were looking at a small business right now, their digital presence for a small business, and if you were auditing them, what would you say is the most common mistake that you find in some of these small businesses' digital presence?
One, I would say most of them don't have a goal, or if they do, it's the final goal and they don't have like steps in between to get to it. What do I mean? We all want to make some form of money from whatever we're doing, but to get there, it's a journey. So rather than tell me my goal is sales, that's fine, but what other goals can we have in between to get us closer to that sale? And other than that aspect of goal, then you realize once their goals are that wide, then the next worry becomes their audience. Because I'm trying to sell to this audience that one, doesn't know me, two, needs to trust me to be able to buy, but three, may not be able to purchase at this moment for different things. Maybe I don't have the money, maybe I'm not ready to buy now, maybe I'm weighing options, so you're not the only supplier I'm trying to ask, and so on and so forth. So many brands, the two top mistakes is usually either they don't have a goal or it's not clear, or they don't know their target audience. So they're not, sort of speaking to them in a way that will relate to them. There's no that patience. But the final one is many small businesses quickly, can I say, run to wanting to spend money because that's the assumption. That's how these big brands became big. They assume that they had to just throw money at digital. But when you throw money at digital, saying the wrong things, targeting the wrong audience, not having a goal, it's not going to work. Yeah. So those are the key mistakes I usually say.
Yeah.
So even when it comes to where to start, I usually say start at solving that. And that's why you get to appreciate it. It's so important to have a strategy. And I tell people, don't overthink strategy. You can just even think of it as a simple plan, something that's going to give you a direction of what to do, where, when, and why. So have a strategy. And in that strategy, you have to talk about your goals. Start small or start at the beginning of the journey. I want to create awareness about my brand. Okay, what happens after they've been made aware? I want them to generate some form of interest. Are they inquiring? Are they visiting my website? Are they maybe calling? What next after that? Am I maybe convincing them to purchase, or are there those who are ready to purchase at that point? And if they're not, what am I going to do about it? Am I going to do follow-ups? You'll be very shocked at how many businesses in Kenya do not do follow-ups.
Too many.
It's so sad. Sometimes I'm just like, you're leaving money on the table, but walk that journey, up until the level where you are converting them. And that's just at the goal stage. But after you think about it from that sense, then ask yourself, okay, who is this I'm talking to? And most times you'll see business owners saying, me, I'm targeting everybody. You can target everybody.
But actually, I mean, there are mass market companies,
Exactly.
right? Those are the ones, that's what I'm assuming.
Yeah.
But I don't know that people understand what targeting everyone means, right? So even the mass market brands, sure, they're targeting most people. But when someone says I'm targeting everyone, I think they have a misunderstanding of who they are.
And if it's a good word, they're targeting most people.
Yeah.
Because previously, when you talk about like brands that do mass marketing, you'd think salt, you'd think sugar. But I mean, there are people who are not taking salt. There are people who are not taking sugar now. There are people who are not taking wheat.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's becoming smaller and smaller. There's some brands we can say, I don't know which ones, but you can say that they're targeting everyone. But nowadays, most times, there's an alternative.
I would say Safaricom is a mass market brand.
We have no option.
That's like the only one.
Yes.
Because everybody else really do have a target market, and it's very specific.
Yep. And as time goes, you'll be shocked. Maybe Safaricom won't be mass market.
I hope to God they become, we need some competition.
Yep.
To be very real.
Yeah. So you have to think about your target audience as well and be specific. I usually tell people it's not enough for you to just think of it in terms of what's their age, what's their gender, but go into the detail. What's this person interested in? Why would they buy your product? And why would they not? Think about it from both perspectives. So that even when it comes to the why would they not, is there a way you can convince them to jump board and actually buy from you? Once you think of those major things, it becomes so much easier for you to actually decide, then how do I implement? Because your audience guides what platforms you should be on. Many brands just join all social media platforms because everyone's
doing
on all social
media.
But sometimes you find maybe you're targeting an audience that's on TikTok And
or X.
yes,
Or, yeah.
and you're busy on another platform.
Yeah.
What are you doing there? And same thing for ads. You know, you're busy running ads on social media. But maybe if you did something like Google search ads, that's what would work better for you because people are searching.
Yeah.
And then boom,
Yeah.
your ad appears when they're looking for you.
Yeah.
So sometimes that intentionality is lacking.
Yeah.
And that's how I'd say you can solve it.
Yeah. So describing your customer persona, right?
Yeah.
Who they are, what their age is, where they work, do they drive to work, do they walk to work? Like just getting into the nitty-gritty details of who that person is and having several of those personas and what level of where do they communicate? Where are they searching for your product?
Exactly. And sometimes breaking it down like that to personas just doesn't help with your digital marketing, but also helps you come up with new products and services.
Yeah.
We've personally benefited from that because when we started, we were never doing training. That was never in the plan.
Yeah.
You know, because why are we giving out the knowledge we have to marketers who will take the jobs from us? That was the thinking.
Yeah.
But with time, we were able to come up with different personas that now you can even hear me saying we don't just train, but sometimes you find a company that needs you to support their team. That's also a service we're offering. So the more personas you can get as a business owner, the easier it actually becomes to even grow your business all around. Yeah.
There is a confusion and well, maybe there's different strategies that you can take, but a lot of digital strategists or social media managers will have their own strategy on posting things. Let's say you have your strategy, you know your persona, you know what you're about to do.
Yeah.
For someone like myself with a podcast for women in business, I get different information around like the algorithm, posting every day.
Yeah.
Should I be doing that? Should I not be doing that? And it all just seems overwhelming to me.
Yeah.
So what would you say to someone like me who's doing this, running this podcast and about my digital presence and what I need to do to grow my audience and reach the audience that I'd like to reach?
One, different strategies work for different businesses, but there are a couple of things that are common across the board. I'll start with that, then I'll personalize it to a podcast. One, you don't have to post every day. And just to be a little bit logic about it, most of the time on your social media pages, you have a report section. We call it insights. And on that insights section, you'll find that on some platforms, especially Instagram, you'll find a section where it will tell you how your posts perform. It will also get to tell you when your audience is active online. Is it daily? And if it's daily, are there specific times? Most times you'll find that there are days where you put up posts, they perform way better than others. Other times it could be the specific post you put up in terms of the information you are sharing. You have to narrow down to those nitty-gritties.
How do you know the difference? how are you able to tell whether it's the actual post or the time
Nice
that you put it?
So you make lots of assumptions at the start. So in terms of time, on your insights, you get to see maybe on Mondays at 9 a.m. my posts perform well. So that you have in the reports. But when it comes to the actual posts themselves to determine this post did really well, you're looking at increases and decreases. So for example, yesterday, maybe I talked about women in business and it had a high, sort of amount of people it reached or engagement. Maybe today I talk about the bad side of business and I notice the engagement is low. That's something you need to take note of. So that over a month's time of testing, you're able to actually determine when you talk about this, the post do well. When you talk about something else, it doesn't do well because the increase and the decrease is what is showing you what's happening. And now, after that, you go into testing mode, where we say in month 2, are you now talking more about the topics that did well to actually see what that looks like? And I've had instances where people decide to even test, let's post daily. Do all the posts actually perform well, or do some not perform? And from experience, not all of them will perform well. You'll find that there are specific posts or specific days that will do well. So you can go experimenting with the days, or actually the topics of conversation. So you'll find that maybe by default, someone says, I'll post 3 times a week. I'll post 4 times a week, especially if you're running paid ads in the back end. What are you doing? Posting every day. The algorithm is overworking behind the scenes to show your ad to people, and you're paying for it, you see? But if you're fully organic, that's when I see a lot of people saying, post every day. But the reality is, it's not every day that your post performs well. So you need to narrow down on are their best days and are their best topics to talk about as well.
And that takes time, obviously.
Yep.
It takes a lot of time to figure it out.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this organic, non-organic thing. I was actually having a conversation yesterday, and again, I get conflicting advice around organic growth versus paid ads. And it came down to just what your intention is and who you are. Like, are you doing this as a hobby? Are you what are we trying to do here?
Exactly.
And what are you trying to sell? What advice would you give me?
Okay.
As a podcaster.
Okay.
About organic growth versus paid ads.
Okay. At the start, organic will be very good for people to discover you on their own. However, as you grow, you get to realize that you want to reach a wider audience, which unfortunately you cannot do fully organically. And I usually tell people, don't just think of organically being you posting, but think of organically being someone resharing. Think about it all around. And don't just think of the paid side of things being sponsored ads, but working with an influencer could be considered a paid element as well. So when you think about it like that, at the start, it's nice for you to grow that, but it needs lots of patience.
And what does lots of patience look like?
Lots of patience could mean years. I'm not going to lie to you. For example, right now, I think on my Instagram personal profile, I have about, I think, 1,600 or 1,700 followers. I've been on Instagram for the longest. I post. I mean, what's happening?
Yeah.
And I think it's been 1,700 for a long time. What's not happening yet? A platform like LinkedIn, the other day I discovered I have 4,000 followers. It keeps growing. So sometimes you could go the organic way and realize for some platforms, organic is excellent. Because on my LinkedIn profile, I can't run ads.
Yeah.
On my Instagram, there are times I do run ads, and not for the purpose of sales, but it's still at that 1,700 followers. Maybe I'm running to get profile visits. Maybe I'm trying to drive people to the link on my bio. Not necessarily because I'm selling, because I just post travel content, I post food content, and a bit of digital marketing here and there. So imagine even with ads, am I achieving the goal I want from the ads? Yes, because most of my ads are for awareness. I want to reach as many people as possible. Do I want those people to necessarily follow me? That's not something I've been pushing, where I want these guys to not just see my content, but follow me as well. Why am I not pushing that? Because we've gotten to a time where the algorithm is so strong that I don't have to follow you. I watch a lot of TikTok, and sometimes in the comment sections, I see people saying, praying that the algorithm brings me back. And it does. Sometimes I watch a lot of TikToks as well. You see a part 1 of a video. Then all of a sudden, after you've scrolled, you see a part 2 and you're like, wow, I didn't even follow them. So some platforms like TikTok have really cracked the algorithm to the level that I don't have to follow you to receive your content. That same TikTok, I follow some people, and I noticed once I follow someone, I don't see them on my For You page anymore. So I quickly go back and unfollow. So those guys are like, I'm losing followers. But I'm so worried because I don't find them anymore. So if you try to compete with the algorithm, you're going to get tired because it changes daily.
All the time.
It changes all the time.
And so this whole mastering the algorithm thing is fake.
Imagine it is.
Yeah.
It's super fake because it keeps changing. But in addition to that, you're not in those boardrooms figuring out what they're trying to prioritize.
Yeah.
Last year, I saw LinkedIn make an announcement where they're saying video is now working on LinkedIn. It worked, but this year, all of a sudden, I'm not seeing it doing as well as it was last year.
Yeah.
Will they make the announcement and say, oh yeah, no, video is not working anymore?
Yeah.
They'll not do that.
Yeah.
So algorithm is a mind of its own.
Yeah.
It goes learning. That's the key thing most people have to understand.
Yeah.
It goes learning its users, and it changes as per the users, not as per you or the industry or anything
you can
else.
do anything to
exactly
shift that.
So you find that you have to balance.
Yeah.
And usually I say the part that most people forget, all these channels are a business. and they're in the business of making money.
Yeah.
And they're in the business of getting people to use the app longer.
Yeah.
So at some point, you will need to do ads.
Yeah.
At some point, because they're in the business of making money.
I heard that Instagram does a lot of rage bait.
Yep, they do. They do. TikTok as well. I think TikTok has the greatest algorithm.
On rage bait?
Not rage bait specifically, but depends. Especially if you open like a TikTok account for the very first time without even logging in and selecting like the topics you'd love to hear about, it brings a variety of things. A lot of depressive, without opening an account, So it will have a few mixtures here and there, but you notice a few strange things here and there.
Really?
Then once you log in and select what you'd like to see, then
learns.
that changes a little bit. So at the end of the day, some of these people have an agenda as well.
Yeah.
So
But I think also Instagram these days, it's so much harder to grow on Instagram than it is on TikTok.
true. Instagram and LinkedIn.
And I don't understand that. I don't know. Anyway, whatever. It's not my forte. I think I'm just doing my best.
Yep,
Okay. But you mentioned about your growth on Instagram versus LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Can that speak to the type of content that you're posting is more appealing to your audience on LinkedIn rather than on Instagram?
It actually could.
Yeah.
And that's why we tell business owners, stop cross-posting.
Right. Because it
Please.
doesn't match.
It doesn't match. And sometimes I usually say, think practically.
Yeah.
Today, if you went to an event and told people, please follow my podcast on
Yeah.
Facebook, Instagram,
Yeah.
X, why am I following you on all those channels if you're posting the same thing?
Yeah.
Realistically.
Yeah.
And many brands don't like to hear that, of course, because of the work that comes behind
Yeah.
creating specific content
Yeah.
for each platform
Yeah.
and the cost as well.
Yeah. It's a lot of work.
Exactly. And so with that in mind, then you find that it's very important to customize, because then the algorithm is also changing all the time. Do you need to go more into that? If you remember when Instagram started, it was very aesthetic. But nowadays you see blurry videos, you see, and some of them are performing so well,
Yeah.
and you're like, what happened?
Yeah.
The algorithm changed.
Yeah.
Instagram changed its priority.
Yeah.
So you can't keep up.
Yeah.
You just have
So
to
there's no way of learning the
No,
algorithm.
you
just have
can't.
to do your best.
do your best, adjust, be on the lookout to adjust. So if you
and observe
notice,
what the response is.
exactly,
Yeah.
observe the response from your audience.
Yeah.
And that's why reports become something so critical.
Yeah.
But many small businesses don't like reports. For them, it's the end goal of sales. That will make sense. So the journey to it, in between, looking at my reports, seeing what the reach is like and engagement, they don't want to look at that. But that's what helps you.
Yeah.
That's what helps you observe trends.
Yeah. Another thing that I'd like to highlight is that people think that followers means that you're doing well in sales. It never adds up to money.
Yep.
And that's what people don't understand. It's like the more followers doesn't necessarily mean that you're making money, you're converting sales, even for the influencers.
Right.
Like if you decide to work with an influencer, who is their audience? Are they your target?
Exactly.
And so this is also stuff that I had to learn the hard way. And back in the day, I used to work with a lot of influencers.
Yeah.
But then, and I worked with a lot of influencers at the advice of a marketer that I guess was in the space,
Yeah.
who I realized didn't really know what they were doing or talking about. And we would just have influencers on influencers. That's what we're doing. But none of that ever convert. Not one single sale. But it did. We got more followers and all that. But none of that translated into money.
Yep.
And that's what I wanted, was the money. So I found that working with the influencers just became expensive for nothing.
Yeah.
For nothing. Because their audience was never the audience that we were looking for.
Yeah. Very true. And happens a lot with influencers. And thank you for bringing it up. At the end of the day, even if you look at your own personal accounts, most of the time, out of the total followers you have, you probably engage on a good day between 1 to 5% on a good day, which means it can be lower than 1%. You'll be very shocked. And there are tools out here. I mean, if you go on Google and just search for Instagram engagement calculator. You'll be very shocked. Check out some of your influencers.
Yeah.
You'll find them at 0.0, you know,
Five.
a few
Yeah.
at 1%,
Yeah.
a few at 3%,
Yeah.
but you really need to be very intentional about, is their audience my audience?
Exactly.
Yep.
Like be very intentional about
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Because if their audience can't even afford your product,
Yep.
then I mean, I don't know what we're doing here. But okay, that's a good thing to bring up. So for a business owner who doesn't have a big budget or a lot of time, where do you think that they should put their energy first in growing their business, really?
One, I'd say social media. It's the easiest in terms of managing time because you can schedule. It's the most affordable if you're even looking to like run paid ads, because a platform like Meta, which is Facebook, Instagram, X, Google, you can run an ad for a minimum of $1 a day, which is around 140, 150 Kenya shillings. And if it's content, which is what takes most of the work, we now have a lot of AI that I know people are incorporating. But away from that, I have seen small business owners get very clever, where they'll hire a marketer, tell them, maybe I want you to support me for 1 month. The marketer will create maybe different visuals. So let's say 3 or 4 templates, maybe 1 for video, 2 for graphics. And the business owner tells you, always send me the Canva link, because they know in future they'll just be replacing the image, replacing the text. That's one strategy you can utilize, where you have a variety of templates for your content. Your work is just to edit the picture, edit the text, and schedule. And I've seen that work for lots of business owners. But now the hard part becomes the managing the inquiries. So I've seen some business owners outsource that part, where they have someone to sort of respond, or I've seen them make the best out of automations. So for example, within Meta Business Suite, there's automations. So if someone, you can even put keywords. So if someone says something around price, they get an automated response. If they say something around location, it sends them the location. So these tools have lots of automations that are helping with that. But also at the end of the day, how can you manage social media in the easiest way? No one said you have to post every day.
Yeah.
I know brands that have been successful. They post once a week. Behind the scenes, they run ads and they're doing very well. And it's simply an aspect of consistency to the level of people know that every Monday you're putting up a post and they look forward to it. But other than that, having a balance of, am I running ads all the time? Am I running ads only when I have offers? And personally, I've tried both for my business. I have run during offers and I have run all the time. And I've seen different results, especially the one for all the time. Brand recall is higher. People are able to remember the brand. People take screenshots, and after 1 year, they reach out and ask, is the offer still valid? Even when it had expired.
yeah.
So that's what I would say. Yeah.
So paid ads really are effective.
They are effective as long as you target well, and as long as you are on the platform where your audience is, they actually work. The only thing that people struggle with is that audience ready to take up your product or service now? And if you're not able to crack that, it becomes an issue. So for example, for us, when we're doing trainings, Q1 of the year is the time to run ads for trainings. Because new year, new me, I want to learn a new skill. I want to, then towards the end of the year as well, because they're preparing for the next year. But in between here, when we run ads for trainings, we're wasting money. People are not going to sign up. So sometimes you have to get to that level where you understand when different solutions that you have actually should be marketed. Otherwise, you're going to be running ads all year long and it's actually not working. And you have to be able to actually read those reports. So usually I tell people, just because the ad didn't bring sales, you have to analyze and see, did it reach the people I wanted it to reach? What do these people do? If people inquired, what could have gone wrong there? And sometimes you find small, silly things, make or break. So maybe you responded after 2 hours, someone had gotten a solution, or you didn't respond at all. Maybe you were overwhelmed with the messages. Little things like those follow-ups becomes an important aspect to think about as well. Yep.
You really have to know your business.
You do.
And your customer.
You do. You really do. Yep.
For creatives, artists, and coaches, people whose work is personal and hard to sell directly, what would you tell them about building a digital strategy that feels authentic to them?
One, at the start, you'll have to show up yourself.
Your
you
face.
you will have to show up.
Yeah.
And I know many people don't like that part
Yeah.
because they're like, no, but at the start you will have to. Eventually, later on, maybe as you grow, you'll be able to separate the business. And sometimes nowadays, when I say show up, you can show up on video, you can show up on audio as well. Audio gets people to feel like they're talking to you. But the big question is on audio, because like I'm sure people listen to this podcast, some on audio, some on video. Does it feel like you're there with me? Does
Yeah.
it feel like you're talking to me?
Yeah.
So if you don't have that skill to talk and make people feel like that, audio won't be the one for you.
Yeah.
You'll have to go the video way.
Yeah.
So in terms of strategy, I think I would say that's one. But two, there'll be a lot of when people reach out needing to hear from the expert. So as you grow, it's something, like I said, for my business, you can teach to whoever you'll work with. Maybe you'll start a company with multiple coaches. So you'll have to teach that level down for it to feel consistent, And so at the start, you'll have to be the one individually, let's say, putting a touch of your response, whether it's on DM, whether it's during discovery calls and all of that, it will have to be a touch of you. But other than that, try different styles of it to discover what works best for you. And that's how I actually discovered the audio through a client who actually did not want to go on video. They tried video a couple of times, but when they did audio, for some reason, it also really worked for them. And so try a variety. I usually say digital marketing is an experiment.
Yeah.
Some people think it's guesswork, but at the end of the day, you're experimenting with what works for your audience. Because just because it works for podcast A doesn't mean it will work for you.
Yeah.
You see, you have to test it out with your audience to actually see if it would work.
Yeah.
So I'd say those two top things. But other than that, when it comes to that strategy for those specific people, you will have to stay on track to be reviewing it.
Yeah.
Even on a monthly. To just make sure that you're actually keeping track of it.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, when you introduce, say, an individual to a brand, a lot of things change. And one thing I notice with a lot of businesses, when you post the face of an individual, that post does really well. But we never think of what if that's all I do? So what if I'm the face of the podcast all through? Fine, I have guests, but what if I'm the face of the podcast all through? Will they always do well?
Yeah.
And
no.
you
Probably
realize
not.
they
Probably
don't.
not.
Yes, you realize they don't.
Yeah.
And that's when you now get into the nitty-gritties of when do they do well.
Yeah.
It could be day, it could be time that we've talked about, it could be what you're talking about as well.
Yeah.
So as you're keeping yourself on toes, always refer back to the strategy, especially with the human element.
Yeah.
You have to keep going back often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Know your brand, know your audience, have a strategy, test, stay consistent.
Yep.
Right? What am I missing?
Analyze. Yes.
Okay. Amazing. Okay. I've learned a lot.
Nice.
I've learned a lot.
I'm glad.
Thank you, Melanie.
Thank you
I
as well.
appreciate your time.
Me too.
And we're going to work together one day.
Yeah.
I know we are. So
we will.
I'm excited.
Me too.
Awesome. Thank you.
That was amazing.
Thank you.